Hi, and welcome to From the Goat Up. I'm Karen Minsky, and I'm going to be with you for the next half hour. We are at my farmhouse in Newtown, Pennsylvania. This is probably my happy place. If I had one to pick for myself, obviously my family and my house is my place, but this is my home away from home. I would describe this farmhouse as my inner vision of myself. I am someone that really loves to surround herself with comfort and things that are nice, but not overly affluential. And I would use the word gaudy because I'm from New York. Uh, and so this is definitely not that. I love it because in the middle of my day, my goats are outside. So if I wanted to go and just relax and remind myself why I do this every single day, because on the days when it gets hard, I really need to do that. And this does not feel like I go to work every day. It feels like I'm just in my second place in life. I kind of have two of me. I feel like I am a different person at home than I am at work. Work, it's just more about me and it's more about what I want to make of myself and my life and the people that I want to surround myself with. My team here really motivates me and I'm excited to be around everybody. At home, it's just a different me. Welcome to From the Goat Up, where we talk about ambition, motherhood, business, and what it really takes to earn your seat at the table. Okay, so when I was thinking about the next evolution of my life and how I really wanted to, I guess, just connect with the people around me, because I do feel like if you're a woman building a family and building a career, it does feel very lonely and very hard. And it also feels sometimes a little impossible. And so I don't want people to feel that way. And I want to be able to just share my story and really, first of all, make everyone feel like you're not alone. You're not the only person in the world feeling that way. I was even a single mother building my career at one time in my life. And so for me, it's just kind of explaining why um, being really, really confident in what your abilities are and what you really want, your ambition, is not something that you should be ashamed or embarrassed about. And you shouldn't have to feel guilty for wanting both. I've always wanted a family. A family for me has been the most important thing. I think as a little girl, I've always wanted to just have babies and create a family. But once I had the family and I felt like I accomplished what I wanted, I really felt like, okay, what's next for me? And this just felt like something that I needed to do for myself. And I think that if you lose yourself as a woman, you actually probably are not as whole as you could be in your whole life. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, I wanted to just give over everything that I can to my children and my husband and my life and my family and my friends. But then I also wanted to have something that was mine, something that I could really be proud of myself for, and something that I really wanted to achieve. And so being ambitious is, I think, sometimes a dirty word when you're a woman. You're looked at as someone who's selfish, someone who doesn't care, someone who may just be out for whatever, like nice things or just to be recognized, but that's not really what it's about. It's really more about having self-worth and confidence to really be who you are and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with wanting everything. So that's something that I think is really important. And I also want to say that there's a pressure to be perfect. When you're a mom and you're a woman in business, you have to do everything right. And boy, are you judged. So if you are not at your kids', I don't know, pizza party at school because you have to go on a business trip, you are judged. If you don't know all the moms that meet for coffee every Tuesday morning because you're in a business meeting or because you're traveling or because you're at work, you're judged for not being a great mom. Or if you're at work and you have to leave because your kid is sick, they have a fever, or they have a play that you don't want to miss. Now you're being judged because you have to leave and you're a woman. And guess what? The guy sitting next to you at the table, his wife is leaving. He's not leaving. And so you really have to figure out how to find that big balance. And what I don't want is anyone to think that they're alone, even though it feels really lonely. In my days, I feel really lonely in trying to figure out, how do I do it all? How do I figure it out? How do I not feel guilty doing it all? Because when I'm when I'm at work. Like last night, I was traveling and I didn't get home until 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I missed my dinner with my family. I missed my kid going to a sports event. I missed my other kid talking to him about his day. I didn't even see him last night because he was just out and about. And by the time he got home, I was crashing because I was exhausted. And so um, it's really just remembering and realizing that you're actually setting a great example. And I have boys, but I also want to say that, setting an example as a mom and as a woman in business is really important. And I think that you should be proud of that and not feel like you're less than. So if you are sitting in your house folding laundry right now, or if you're at a business meeting or in a car trip on the way to a meeting, or to go even grocery shopping, wherever you are in your day, just know that it's great. You should just keep doing what you're doing and don't let anyone stop you, even yourself, because that's usually what stops you first, because we are great at criticizing ourselves and saying, oh, I should stop now. This is not what I should be doing because this is not what the expectation is. It's interesting because even my mom will say, so what are you making for dinner tonight? And I'm like, I am not making dinner tonight. I am at work. My husband's going to help me out with that because he's a wonderful partner, and him and I have, built the partnership together. We've discussed it. He knows what I am trying to build, and he's 100% supportive, and you have to have that. Um, but at the same time, no, I'm not making dinner every night for my kids. I do enjoy cooking. I love it so much, but I do a lot of it on the weekends when I'm home, or when I take a few days off to recharge. So you can find the time, and you have to really find the time. But but yeah, this is what it's all about. You're not perfect, you're not alone, and you can do this. I was raised in a really loving family, but I never felt, or I know now as an adult, my family never really had like a lot of money. My dad was always hardworking, trying to open up businesses, trying to figure out a way to support his family. My mom was a homemaker and she really did a great job taking care of all of us. She was our person that we were home, every single day after school. She was there taking care of us, which was great. But I figured out early on that I had to really, if I wanted something, I I had to go get it myself. I actually remember a very vivid story when I was younger that I just wanted this leather jacket. I don't know why, but it was like a thing that I wanted. And I just kept thinking about it. And my mom just said, I'm sorry, I just can't afford to buy you this jacket. You're not going to be able to have it, or you'll have to figure out a way to earn it yourself. Try, babysitting or doing something. I think I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I really just wanted this jacket. And so I got a babysitting job, and I ended up finding a job where the woman actually had me like for 5 days a week. It was right after school. I used to take the bus right to her house, watch her children, help her get the kids to bed. And then I would get her husband would then take me home at night. And then that's when I would do my homework and all that stuff. And I earned enough money to buy my jacket. And once I bought my jacket, I was like, this is it. If I want something for myself, I have to go and get it myself. I can't wait for someone else to give it to me because everyone has their own thing. Like my family, I have a brother, I have a sister. They were raising a family. They needed to make sure that there was food on the table. They weren't worried about my leather jacket, And so that was a good lesson in my life that I learned early on. And I think that kind of put that in me organically. Like I have that in everything that I do now. I just know I want this. I'm just going to go and get it. Um, and if I'm thinking about something and I'm like, oh, let me just go talk to this person, and no, I have to figure out how to achieve that and how to get it myself. And first of all, it really builds your confidence and it makes you feel amazing. But at the same time, you know that you can do anything when you get that jacket. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that my sister ruined my jacket and then ended up going in the garbage. That broke my heart. But I still earned that jacket by myself, which made me really, really happy. Being raised in that family, like I said, really showed me how to be strong and how to be a really, great, I would say a great worker. I was a hard worker. Any job that I got, I took it seriously. I didn't consider it like a side job, and I really try to instill this in my children today. Like, if you're going to earn your paycheck, it's not just getting your money and just putting it in the bank, but to feel worthy and to feel like you're making a difference, you really have to work hard and feel like you're giving it all, your all. And so I kind of went through different jobs, and then I landed in this one job that when I walked in the door and I started working there, I just felt like home. It kind of feels like this farm a little bit. It just feels like I felt like it was just the people were just my people. I felt culturally like I fit with everybody. Everyone had a different story. Everyone had a different background, but we all kind of just figured out, what we were doing. We kind of did it together. And I grew up there and, I got married. I had my children, but unfortunately, I ended up getting a divorce early on in my marriage, after my children and were born. But it once again just forced me to be stronger. I had to figure out how to be a single mom. My ex-husband was not in the picture at all. So financially, emotionally, I had to be there for my children, but I still wanted my career. So like, how do you do that now? And I had twin boys. So how do you do that with twin boys, living on your own? So I'm not going to lie, it was really hard at times. There were definitely crying bathroom moments while my children were asleep. But I also felt a responsibility that I had to show them that like you can do anything. And so just as much as I wanted that jacket, I wanted my kids to feel like there's no difference just because it's just me. So listen, I put them in daycare right around the corner from my work. So if there was an issue, I can just pop over. And while I was at work, I just was at work and I really worked hard and I tried to figure out who I was, and we made it. We made it. My kids made it. And I always say, yay, they're still alive. That's my big joke. But they were also really, I would say, um, I don't know, easy. They take it easy on me is what I always tell them. Like, you've always taken easy on me. You knew that I was having a hard time. You were great. If you knew that I was taking, like, having a little bit of an easy time, that was your time to have a meltdown. So we kind of took turns. But to this day, I have such a great friendship and a connection with my boys, I think because we went through that hard time together and we really figured out together. We kind of grew up together. I mean, I had my boys when I was 23. So I really felt young and I felt like I was still figuring out who I was. And so we grew up together, and my boys have just always anchored me. And they always reminded me, like, this is why you're doing it. In addition for myself, and they've just supported me, and they've never said, "Mom, why are you not here? I'm so sad." My first international trip, I had to leave. I left them with my mother for like 12 days. They were 9 months old. I was really, really like upset and guilty, and all of these wonderful feelings that as moms we have. But they were great. When I got back, they were like, "Yeah, you're home. Always bring a gift." That's my thing. But just remind them, they still want that to think that you thought of them, which of course every day I did. But yeah, and that's kind of like what I think that's the strength and the base of how I got to where I am today. And that's what is the foundation of who I am today, and why I work the way I work, because it wasn't easy. I didn't, kind of just get handed something. I really had to figure it out. And have you ever felt like you were sitting at the high school table and you were not with the cool kids? That's kind of what it feels like when you are trying to be taken seriously at the table, when you are sitting in a business meeting, when you are being, asked to present and there's men all around you. I grew up in an environment, and when I say I grew up in my career in an environment where men were dominating the boardroom. They were the ones that were making the decisions. They were the ones that had this little, I don't know, I guess it's like the boys club, I guess is what I would call it. And I was always the girl that was trying to fit in. And so you either went in the route of being sexually harassed because you were a woman, or you had to figure out, how do I join in the boys club but not be too sexy because I don't want to be sexually harassed, but also not be, ditzy because I don't want to be looked at as someone who's not intelligent and who can't really, has not earned her space in that. So I needed to just figure out how am I going to present myself? And what I will say is, the first thing is, a lot of men, especially as you are, I would say, developing your career and getting more and more, as you're rising up, I guess, in your career, you're looked at as a girl. And it's kind of like a dirty word. And the funny thing is, we are so strong. Think about what women are able to do in a daily work. A man cannot do that. And I'm not trying to discount men. Men are wonderful. They're great. Love men. Love my husband. But at the end of the day, women are just built differently. I truly believe that. And so I had to really work hard in my career to prove my worth. So I worked really hard. I also made sure to be very vocal. And so I am known for being very transparent. I run my mouth in a very professional way at work, but I definitely tell people what I think. And the reason why I do that is because I think, first of all, out of mutual respect for the person that I'm talking to, I want them to know what I'm thinking. So that way they have the space to be able to give their opinion. But also, I wanted to make sure that the person that I was talking to, which was usually a man, hey, you're not the one that knows everything at the table. Let me just kind of tell you a little bit about why this is important. And when I finally earned my space at the table, what I will say is it was an uncomfortable feeling at first because it was so not often that it happened. It was like the first time. And I was almost looked around like, oh, are you guys looking at me to speak now? I was not prepared for that because usually they're talking first and you're the one that has to figure out when is it okay for me to like raise my hand and speak. So you really had to get, I had to take myself kind of like out of that discomfort and push my way through. And even now, sitting at the table, I still have that. And I think a lot of it is the way I was raised also, but let me be respectful of the man that's sitting next to me because you have to show respect. And so when you have that in your brain, you automatically let them speak first. You let them have their say. You try to maybe say what you think, and it could be different, but you do it in a very respectful way where they don't. But also, I will say it's hard being a woman in business working with other women because other women, I mean, unfortunately, as a woman, you're either intimidating is the number one word that I hear on a daily basis. Oh, I'm so intimidated. But if I was a guy, are you intimidated? No, that's acceptable. So because I'm strong, I'm intimidating. And so that was the excuse why people couldn't say something or because they were scared. Or if I was being, the other word was difficult. She's difficult to deal with. Well, that's because I have an opinion. Because if a guy is difficult, if he's strong, men also raise their voice at work. Women are constantly being yelled at in the work environment, which I, pride myself on never, ever disrespecting the people around me by doing that. Um, but I'm still looked at as difficult because I'm a strong woman. And so you really have to set that aside. And I'm still a work in progress on that. That's still, I'm going to be a girl for a minute, if you want to say that. Still hurts my feelings sometimes just because I really pride myself on just being honest and being real with people. And sometimes I have to be assertive just because of the role that I'm in. And it doesn't mean that I don't get to, hey, let's just have a conversation. And it's not always comfortable, but I'm always honest. And I always say, guys, we're here because we want to be here. So let's just have an honest conversation and work on this together, whatever the conversation may be. Or, hey, let's celebrate our wins together. So I'm excited that I'm surrounded by so many women at the farm just because I see a lot of younger women around me. And I am just so excited to just see their development and how they're progressing and where they want to go in life. A lot of women that used to work for me, they left because they wanted to be at home with their kids. And I love that for them. I feel like everybody should find their own journey. Everybody needs to find their own space and where they are the most comfortable and where they feel the most worth. For me, I feel that I have more worth if I have my own thing and this farm and, being president of Dionis is my thing. This is what fuels me as a personal person every single day. And so that feeling is what I feel like. I chase that all the time and I love that. So this is what I hope everyone, and you may not be in the boardroom. You may be, at a school meeting with your kids at a PTO, and maybe you're on a school trip, or maybe you're, I don't know, wherever your journey is, wherever your life takes you. Just remember that it's just how you are presenting yourself and how you're thinking about yourself is more than the person who's thinking or saying it for you. So I'm going to spill the milk here a little bit, but first I'm going to say my biggest lesson from this spill the milk is trust your gut. We have this silence voice in our heads on a daily basis that talks to us, and a lot of us don't listen to it, but I will tell you that there's so many times in my life where I've ignored it. It's a relationship that I am still working on building. I think we are much better together now. Me and my voice, we've built that relationship, but early on when I first got married, because I did get divorced, after my first marriage. I remember being literally at the beginning of the aisle. I was about to walk down the aisle and I knew I was making a mistake. I knew I should not be walking down that aisle. But I felt really bad because I had my family come from the wedding. They traveled from overseas. We spent all this money. My parents helped, make all these parties, and they spent all this money that they really didn't have. And I just couldn't not go down the aisle because of that. But that voice in my head was like, back up, don't do it. But I still did it. And so that was, and of course I ended in divorce. Now I will say that I got my boys from that marriage. So I definitely don't regret my journey, but I will say that that's when I learned to really start developing that relationship with your silent self, I guess is how you want to call it. And just trust it because it really knows you more than you know yourself. And it took a long time for me to grow up and build that relationship, but we're in a pretty good spot now. She's my BFF, and I do listen to her a lot. And I do it in everything, in my personal life, in my work life, no matter what I do. I trust my gut, and then I know.
Congratulations on your first episode of
Thank you.
From the Goat Up. As your team, we just want to kind of like dig in a little bit more
Uh
when it comes
oh.
to spilling the milk.
Go
So
for
we
it.
have a few questions ourselves. All right. First question. What do you think you've learned the hard way?
The hard way, I would say that it's lonely being at the top. You want to definitely be successful and you want to raise a family and be president of a company and run a brand. And I love it, love it, love it, but it's very lonely. You really have to trust yourself and you have to figure it out all on your own. So be careful what you wish for.
What do you wish someone had told you when you first started your career?
Um, that there's going to be a lot of guilt feelings throughout the journey that has nothing to do with work at all. That it was really just about the way I felt developing and growing in my career and as a person.
Question number three. What was that kind of aha moment where you started feeling like you believed in yourself?
I don't actually know that you ever get to that feeling solely, like fully. I mean, I definitely am confident in my decisions throughout the day. I think you have to be to run a business. You have to be confident. You have to be assertive. If you're indecisive, I think it's hard. But I don't think that you're ever fully like, yep, I got it all. Because I think the minute you do that, you're going to miss so much. And so I still ask a lot of questions. I still like to collaborate and talk and listen to other people's views. I don't think you ever have all the answers. You just have to kind of keep going through your journey and it'll lead you. Just listen to that voice.
What's something that you've stopped apologizing for?
Being intimidating or being called intimidating and being called difficult. I am not sorry about that. I don't even pay attention to it. Now when people say that to me, just because and I should just preface that by saying I make an effort every single day to be as compassionate and I'm the president of the company. I don't function that way. I don't think I function that way. I have an open door policy, but I stopped making, like whatever. If you're going to call me intimidating, we're not talking because that's not what this conversation's about. And so I think being strong is not a bad word. And I think that being embraced for that and not letting that stop you is something that you have to just go for it. What to expect from this podcast, right? Like, why are you guys tuning in? Why are you listening? So, what I wanted was a space of honesty. I wanted a place where we can feel like we can really talk to each other and we can really relate to each other in our everyday struggles, no matter where you are in your journey. I feel like there is definitely a space to relate and not feel so lonely because it is lonely. I also wanted to hear real stories. So you're going to not only hear from me, but you're going to hear from guests that we're going to have on this podcast that really can help make everyone feel that they're not alone because we're not alone. We're in this together. And so sharing our journeys together and how we got to where we are, why we feel the pressure of having to be perfect for everything that we have to do, I think is part of it. And how we navigate day-to-day life. So what you can expect from the upcoming episodes. I really want to talk to, other entrepreneurs. I talk to them and see how they're navigating. GLP-1 is such a big topic. I think women in general and how we look and how we feel in our skin and in our body is really important. And so GLP-1 is something that's very personal to me. So I want to have someone that can really help us talk about that. Also, our skin, right? I mean, as we're aging, as we're dealing with the different skin concerns in life. So I'm excited to have someone on to really help us figure out our skin concerns and how to navigate that. And also just being a mom, being an entrepreneur, how to navigate both in life and just find a space to be together. And I'm sure there'll be way more. This is just the beginning. Thank you for tuning in to From the Goat Up. Please tune in to our biweekly episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, save, and share at Dionis Skincare.